Good evening, class. This is Mrs. Albright, and tonight we are working on Module 5, lesson number 36, and our objective is to practice representing the multiplication of a whole number times a fraction. And we're going to be using visual models and practicing with the associative property this evening, so that I will be explaining to you what that means as we go along. So make sure you have your scratch paper or a whiteboard so you can work right along with me, and let's get started. Now, as a review of what we learned last night, here we have a multiplication sentence which says 4 times 2/3. Now, as I read this, we know that when we read a multiplication sentence, we read this as equal groups of. So this is 4 equal groups of 2/3. So if I were to use this number line to count, I would count by 2/3. So 2/3, 4/3, 6/3, 8/3, and that would give me 4 groups. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 groups of 8/3. So I know that this would be 8/3, but I want to write that as a mixed number. So how many groups of 3/3 are in 8/3? If I were to decompose this, I would have 3/3, 3/3, and 2/3. So these make up 2 wholes. So as a mixed number, this would be 2 whole, and then I would have 2/3 left over. So I want you to practice the next problem on your own. 5 times 3/4. And remember, you can think of this as 5 equal groups of 3/4. I would like the answer as both an improper fraction and then a mixed number. Hopefully when you multiplied this out, multiplying the 5 equal groups of 3, you got 15/4. And then after we decompose this, I know that if I have 15, I can make 3 groups of 4/4 to give me 3 whole, and I would have 3/4 left over. Here we have a repeated addition sentence where we are adding up 2/3 plus 2/3 plus 2/3 plus 2/3. Since each of my groups here have the same value, they're all the same size, we can rewrite this as a multiplication sentence. To do that, we need to look at the size of the group, which is 2/3, and then we are going to multiply that by the total number of groups. And in this problem, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 equal groups of 2/3. Now when I add these up, if I add 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, I get 8/3. But when I multiply, I can do that much easier. I know I have 4 equal groups of 2/3, so I could rewrite this as 4 times 2/3. My denominator is not going to change. I'm still working with thirds as my units. What's going to change is the number of those units. And you can see that 4 times 2 gives me my 8/3 right there. I want you to practice writing this repeated addition sentence as a multiplication sentence. How can we write this as a multiplication sentence? And then I would like you to solve it and give me the answer as both an improper fraction and then a mixed number. Hopefully after you solve this, you saw that we have 6 equal groups of 3/8, which gives us a total of 18/8. And to turn that into a mixed number, I can decompose this 18/8 into 2 groups of 8/8. And then I would have 2/8 left over. So my answer would be 2 and 2/8. I can also put that in simplest form as 2 and 1/4. Let's read the story problem. Rhonda exercised for 5-6 hours every day for 5 days. How many total hours did Rhonda exercise? Now this sounds like a problem for equal groups. We know that the number of groups is 5. We know that the size of each group was 5/6 of an hour. So I would like you to write a repeated addition sentence that we can use to solve this problem. Hopefully what you wrote was 5, 6 plus 5, 6 plus 5, 6 plus 5, 6 plus 5, 6. Now I want you to use what you know about multiplication and turn this repeated addition sentence into a multiplication sentence. And when we do that, we think about the number of equal groups, and in this case there are 5 equal groups, and we multiply that by the size of the group. So we have 5 equal groups of 5, 6. Please give me the answer to this question. How many total hours did Rhonda exercise? Hopefully what you got was 25, 6, and then we would rewrite that as a mixed number of 4 and 1/6. Here are your quiz questions: 5 times 3/8, 9 times 4/5, and 11 times 2/3. You will need to give me the answer first as an improper fraction and then as a mixed number. There were 9 players on Mr. Meyer's softball team. They each ate 3/8 of a pizza. How many pizzas did they eat all together? As you solve this word problem, in your responses here on Edpuzzle, you need to give me the multiplication sentence that you wrote in order to solve the problem, and then the answer as both an improper fraction and a mixed number. And remember to always label your answers when we are working with a story problem. I don't want to see just a number. Bring any questions you have back to school tomorrow, and we will continue working on this. And have a great night.